Good day! So, for today's cartoon, we will be looking at the first cartoon appearance of that legendary band, Josie and the Pussycats! So, meow meow, let's go!
Yeah! So we start off on the ocean, where Josie and the Pussycats are on a ship voyaging to Pago Pago for their next big gig. And that sounds pretty fantastic, right? You're on this nice ship, you're in the sun, it's beautiful. Usually yes, but in this case, no! This is not a cruise ship. It's a dilapidated rust bucket of a freighter. A disaster waiting to happen. And it even gets worse. The manager of the band, Alexander, didn't have enough money, to book this voyage. So he, the band, and everybody else involved needs to work on the ship to pay for their fare. My God, this situation is getting worse the more you look at it. So while Alexander and the band's roadie, Alan, are swabbing the decks up top, Josie, Melodie, Valerie, and Alexandria are washing a massive pile of dishes. That's a big pile of dishes. How many people are on this boat? And if you think it could not get worse, you are wrong, my friend, because this freighter ship is the latest target for Captain Nemo and his nefarious crew. They want to sink this freighter ship for, I'm hoping, a reason. The screw tip of Nemo's submarine drills into the ship and rips a pretty sizable hole in it. And I'm getting flashbacks of being on the Titanic in a past life. Like this ship is filling up with water lickety-split. Abandon ship! Which they eventually do. So Josie and her crew are all on the same lifeboat, which is, great, but they get abducted by Captain Nemo and are brought aboard his submarine. Well, I guess we find out specifically that this guy is actually Captain Nemo's great-grandson, and he's still a jerk. He wants to sink every single ship on the 7 seas. Oh my God, say that 5 times fast. Because he wants to show his dominance of the oceans. And man, are you stupid, Nemo? That's your plan? You're just one submarine. How fast do you think you can traverse the entire planet and sink every ship? Not even the legendary Sequest DSV could do that. Oh man, that was a great show. The second season of that show was so great. Oh, not only is that part of its plan dumb, but there are countries that have this thing called a navy, where some of them have nuclear-powered submarines with torpedoes who could blow the hell out of his ship out of the water. All he has is a screw bit at the front of a ship, man. That's not really that great. Apologies, I'm rambling. So now that Nemo Jr. gave the exposition of his plan, well, he doesn't need the band anymore. So he sends them to their death at the bottom of the ocean in these glass tubes, which is like a final mind screw, I guess, hey? Cause you have that little bit of life, before you not drown underwater. Damn! Well, everybody was sent down there except for Sebastion the cat, because, man, he's just so cute. Look at him. Oh my God. Meow, meow, meow. But Sebastion, man, this cat is a total trickster. He ganks Nemo's keys and goes all 2,000 leagues under the sea to save Josie and the Pussycats. Hooray! Huh. Actually, how did he do that? How deep were they? I will have to ponder on this further. But luckily enough, everybody pops up right next to Volcano Island. And even luckier, they find an elevator in the volcano on Volcano Island. And even luckier still, they find Nemo's secret base and their stolen instruments on Volcano Island. Sorry. And that's really great, right? Because clearly this band does not have enough money to buy new instruments, so you have to hoard everything you can. Suddenly, Alexander has a plan to get out of here. The gang will split up. Josie, Melodie, Alexandria, and Alan will go get the instruments, while Alexander and Valerie, but more specifically Valerie, will sabotage Nemo's ship, so he can't follow them when they escape. But surprise, surprise, the plan goes south. And the only thing that will save Josie and the Pussycats right now is a musical montage with all the usual hijinks you would expect. Yay! So, during the melee of the montage, Nemo's submarine is destroyed and sunk. Nemo and his crew are captured in a giant fishing net, and the Coast Guard shows up to put Nemo and his buddies in jail. So the day is officially saved. Hooray! And, to boot, seeing as the Coast Guard are like really cool, they are giving Josie and the Pussycats a ride to Pago Pago for that concert of theirs. And because Alexandra was acting like a bee, they put her in a rowboat in the back of the ship. Hey. But at least she has Sebastion for, company. Yeah! So with that is the end of this riff. Fantastic tale.
Yeah, so what a random story. Entertaining, don't get me wrong, but everything that happened in there, man, is just, just so bizarre. First off, going to the opposite end of the Pacific Ocean for a gig, and then getting attacked by one of Nemo's descendants? I do love the dedication to their musical craft, no obstacle will get in their way of them getting to the show to perform, right? Including kidnapping and attempted murder. So if they have to destroy some submarines and some villains' plans in the process to get to the show, man, so be it, right? That also plays into the notion of how I do love that they were on that freighter ship and that they had to work on the ship for their fare for passage, right? That's actually somewhat, based in reality. You do hear about this a lot with, successful bands before they made it big, how they were really strapped for cash. How they all piled in one small van with all their equipment to go from show to show. How they would rent one hotel room and everybody cram into that too. Anything you can do to save a buck that you don't have. Like that legendary AC/DC song, right? It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. So yeah, Josie and the Pussycats, nice little touch on the freighter bit there. I also do appreciate the familiarity with this show and I guess this episode. It does seem like a bunch of ideas from other shows crammed together to make this show. You have a little bit of Scooby-Doo, a little bit of the Monkees, a little bit of Johnny Quest. With the Monkees, how they're a band trying to get from gig to gig and to get into troubles. How in Johnny Quest, troubles happen in some pretty fantastic locales. And how in Scooby-Doo, man, they have that running montage scene, they get chased by the villains, stuff like that. Also for the fact that some of the characters really do kind of look like some Scooby-Doo characters. Alan looks exactly like Fred without the white sweater. And Alexander is kind of similar, not quite but close enough to Shaggy. And those two characters are both voiced by Casey Kasem. And now, on with the countdown. But it still totally works, right? Every show is influenced by some other show, man, so it's all good, who cares where their ideas come from? And who cares how this Captain Nemo really resembles an old corny Dracula? It's all good! But yeah, man, all in all, it is actually a pretty awesome and fun little show. It does have the humor, it does have the love triangles, with characters liking each other and other ones getting jealous. Like how Josie gets close to Alan and how Alexandra is kind of pissed off about it. Many layers to this, like an onion. So it is a show that I do recommend. But there is more to Josie and the Pussycats behind the scenes, so let's go check out that stuff over here.
Yeah! So, Josie and the Pussycats, eh? Let's take a quick little look and see where these characters came from. So, we start off with cartoonist Dan DeCarlo, who was working at Atlas Comics. The previous name of Marvel Comics? And he was working on a teen humor comic with a female lead called Millie the Model. Which is all hip and all that, right? Working on someone else's character, but, he wanted to branch off with his own work, and he started to work on a concept called Here's Josie, which was a character that was named after his wife, and this character would be a similar teen comic, right? Some teenage kids hanging out, getting into, teenage trouble. He pitched this idea to Publisher Syndicate to try to get it made into a comic, but was rejected, so Dan went to Archie Comics to see if they liked the idea, and well, sure enough, they did. Shortly thereafter, Josie and her two best friends, Melodie and Pepper, debuted in Archie's Pals and Gals number 23 in 1962, which was apparently a pretty good road test because Josie and her friends got their own comic book called She's Josie number 1 in 1963. We also met some new characters there, including Josie's boyfriend, Albert, Pepper's boyfriend, Socrates, and of course, the wealthy frenemy rival, Alexandra Cabot III. We would eventually meet his twin jerk sister, Alexandra, in She's Josie number 8 in 1964. The title changed its name to simply Josie with issue number 17 in 1965, and it's been pretty much like that for quite some time. The look of the characters would, kind of change throughout the years, and there, like they were just going in step with the fashions of the day. And eventually, after this, is when Hanna-Barbera stepped in. So, as we all know, Hanna-Barbera makes some pretty fantastic cartoons, but they noticed rival studio Filmation having great success with The Archie Show. And not only was the show a success, but the musical side of it too was huge. Man, they had a massive hit song with Sugar Sugar. So Hanna-Barbera was thinking man, how do we replicate that? Well, you can start by going to the same source material, Archie Comics, where luckily the rights to Josie and her friends were not taken up by any other studio, so hooray! Success number 1! Hanna-Barbera wanted their Josie show to be a musical show, right? Kinda like the Archies. The only problem to that was in the comics, man, Josie and her friends were not in a band. So with the help of Hanna-Barbera, things would soon change, and Archie Comics agreed. So production on the show was split into two different departments, the TV show part and the musical part, right? So the musical side of this project was being spearheaded by producer-songwriter Danny Jansen. And he picked a bunch of female performers for each character, who would look like the characters from the comic book, because originally the show would end off each episode with a quick little live segment of the band just jamming out. That part was scrapped, but you still needed a band and some merchandising material of a live band. So eventually he wound up hiring Kathy Dorr as Josie, Sherry Moore as Melodie, and Patrice Holloway as new character Valerie. Patrice Holloway, of course, being the younger sister of Motown legend Brenda Holloway. So, she's got the musical chops. But there was a small little problem. On the musical side, you had Patrice Holloway as Valerie, and, Patrice is black. But on the cartoon side, Valerie was white. There was some kind of a lack of communication somewhere in this process. It would be pretty inconsistent if the character showed up on the same show, as two different people. So when this discrepancy kind of came into focus, there was a lot of discussion on what to do, right? Both departments were really in full swing of production, Jansen did not want to lose Holloway because she's a fantastic talent, and the TV side, like I say, was in production. So, long story short, after a lot of talking and discussion, everyone agreed to keep Patrice Holloway as Valerie, and the cartoon side would change the character's race to reflect Patrice. History is made! Literally! So Valerie would become the first regular occurring black female character on a Saturday morning cartoon, so it worked out pretty good. So even though these actor-performers were not actually shown on the show, they did come out with an album, Josie and the Pussycats, from the Hanna-Barbera TV show, which debuted in 1970. So while the changes to Josie and all her friends and characters were being made during the show's production, at that time, those changes would be reflected in the comic books, starting with Josie number 41 in 1969. That was the last time we would see the characters Pepper, Socrates, and Albert as main reoccurring characters, which I guess is kind of sad, but we would be introduced to the new characters. In Josie number 42, we finally met Alan. In the show, he was the band's roadie. In the comics, he was his own musician. In Josie number 43, we finally met Sebastion the cat. And everything made its final change in issue number 45, when the title was changed to Josie and the Pussycats, where Josie and Melodie, formed the band, kicked Alexandra out of it, and brought in their new friend from school, Valerie, who made her comic book debut in this issue. So there you go. That is everything from the start to the beginning, up until the point of this cartoon episode. So yeah, you're all caught up and it's all good. Just for some quick little funsies, let's talk about Captain Nemo, seeing as he's the main villain of this episode. Well, like I say, he's not the original Captain Nemo, he's his great-grandson. So not quite the same, but they tried to keep the character fairly similar to the original. The original Captain Nemo debuted in the Jules Verne classic book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, in 1870. And this episode is kind of loosely based on that book. So in the book, Nemo would attack ships, but only warships that attacked him first, not just some random freighter ships like Nemo Jr. would do. This was because original Nemo was really against imperialism, war, and tyranny, so no reason to be tyrannical against some random freighter. Original Captain Nemo is an accomplished organist, so it's not odd to see an organ being played on the ship. And I am mature enough to not turn that sentence into a joke. Also, the band went to the city Pago Pago, which is in American Samoa, which is kind of more towards the Australia side of the Pacific Ocean. Maybe not quite that far, but still, man, that is quite a jaunt for one concert. Like, holy crap! Unless there's some other Pago Pago closer by that I totally missed. So yeah, man, that's pretty much all I got for this episode. So with this, that, those, and the other things, I guess that's that. Also, if you guys are interested, I created my own superhero show and I have the first episode out already. The Adventures of the Density. So if you guys would like to check it out, I'll have a link above here and a link at the end of the video for you to peruse there. Yeah, right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, feel free to do so. Or anything else, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, have a great day. Thanks.